want to feel low. I want more friends.
Welcome to the Bruce Lee Podcast, a podcast about Bruce Lee's life and philosophy. Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Lee.
And I'm Sharon Lee.
And this is the Bruce Lee Podcast.
Welcome.
Hello. I run the Bruce Lee Family Company, and Bruce Lee is my dad.
And I am the Chief Creative Officer at the Bruce Lee Family Company, so Shannon and I work together.
We've been using my father's philosophy and talking about my father's philosophy at work all of the time, and so here we are with episode 6 to talk to you a little bit about.
Episode 6 is about goals, mistakes, and success. Okay, big topic.
Just a handful of things.
Yeah. We strung these together because it is all part of the same conversation. We're going to unpack it a little bit. So let's start with goals. Your dad was a big practicer of writing down his goals, and all manner of goals, not just daily goals, but really big goals. And so talk to me about what the goals and kind of keeping those goals, tracking those goals meant to him.
You know, my father was a man of action. So he always sort of wanted to have something that he was aiming at and working towards, something concrete. And he himself used to say that goals are sometimes exactly that, just something to aim at. It gives your life some shape and some purpose, and it gives you something to actively strive for. And what I mean by just something to aim at is that, you know, part of his philosophy was using no way is way, right? So if he came up against something and realized, oh, my goal, I need to change my goal, or this isn't really what I want, it's really this, then he was also flexible in that way. He could change them, but it gave him something towards which to strive and drive.
And he didn't really distinguish between the value of a small goal or big goal. It seemed like he kind of wrote all sorts of goals down, and it wasn't even segregated into these, like, well, these are my goals for work, and this is my goal as a person. It seemed like it was all just kind of one big connected experience for him.
Yeah, you know, I think we've talked about this a lot, too, about having your life be one big ecosystem. So you're the same person you are at work as you are at home, as you are with your friends, as you are with your kids. And so for him, work, life, martial arts, teaching, being a father, being a husband, it was all part of one thing for him, and he lived his life earnestly in the same way, but in all of those different parts.
He was in flow with all of the
Yes.
different spaces in his life. So I want to start by having you read one of your dad's more famous written goals that have been published. He called it his definite chief aim.
Yes.
Which is kind of a big title. How old was he when he decided what his definite chief aim was?
He wrote this in January of 1969, so he was not quite 29 yet. He was 28.
So he was in his late 20s. So why don't you read it for us, and then we can talk about it.
My definite chief aim. I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting 1970, I will achieve world fame, and from then onward till the end of 1980, I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness. Bruce Lee.
Wow. That's no small goal for being a 28-year-old. It's so interesting that in this definite chief aim, it's pretty jam-packed for a short piece of prose there. Mm-hmm. Let's break it down. What was coming before, and what was kind of prompting him, you think, to kind of, in the time in his life where he kind of felt compelled to write this?
Well, you know, he had done The Green Hornet. He was trying to make his way in Hollywood. The Green Hornet had been canceled already a couple of years at this point, and he had other projects that he was trying to get made, like The Silent Flute and The Warrior, which was a TV series. And in between that, he was trying to get acting jobs, as well as, he was doing whatever he could to sort of make ends meet. But it wasn't just about that for him. It was really about wanting to express his culture and his love for martial arts through the media in an authentic way. And so, here where he talks about being the first and highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States, I think that's really key, because what he's saying is, I'm going to leave my mark, and I'm going to show them what a real authentic Chinese man is like in the United States, because there isn't a picture of that right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the time he was being typecast and very few roles, and then a lot of racism that he had to personally confront.
Yes.
And so this was almost a declaration, for himself,
Right.
as well as, I filled with a lot of confidence. I feel that it's like, I'm going to do this no matter what they say.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know, my father was up for the lead role in a TV series that he was calling at the time The Warrior, and they were calling at the time The Warrior, and was not given the part because they were told that a Chinese man cannot be the lead in an American TV series.
Yeah, I watched that TV show. It was eventually called Kung Fu as a child, and was so confused that this white guy was pretending to be Chinese, and nobody said anything about it. So weird. I know that it didn't occur to you, if you weren't Asian, it seemed like you just kind of accepted it, but to an Asian child watching that, it just was so confusing. I was really confused.
Yeah, and how more wrong could they have been, right? I mean...
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the thing, is that, your dad was told by the people who know, the people in power, especially at that time, in the late 60s, that it's not possible, that, America does not want to see an Asian leading man in any kind of, television or movie vehicle. And what's incredible is that he clearly knew differently and knew the truth somehow enough to write this kind of goal that has no bitterness attached to it.
Right.
That if, a lot of people being told they can't do it, the establishment telling them, would maybe feel so hurt that they would be really embittered and in pain about it, but it was always kind of devoid of that, and
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think he had so much faith in himself. Like, he knew what he could do. It says it right here. He's saying, in return, by the way, for being the highest paid superstar, I am going to give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. He's saying, it's not going to be for nothing. I'm going to create these amazing, exciting performances, the likes you have never seen before.
Yeah, it's a promise to himself, but almost to the universe. Like, don't worry, if you back me up here, I'm so going to deliver on this.
Yeah. Which he did.
Which he did, yeah. So the universe is like, yeah, I gotcha. Okay, I believe you. I also want to talk about goals being, for him, they weren't always meant to be reached. It's not always about what's totally accessible, but something to aim at. And as you and I talked about, almost like it's really just a door opening so that you can see all the other doors.
Right. He would always talk about that you have to come to some sort of realization as to what you're going after, right? And then for him, he was constantly in a state of curiosity and questioning with it. Like, is this what I want? Do I really mean it when I say this? Do I not mean it? Is this true? Is it not true? Is this what I want? And for him, he used to also say that not failure, but low aim is the crime. So the definite chief aim is a lofty goal. It's a very high target, right? But, this is a great attempt for him to go to. It's what he really wants. And there's no shame in putting out into the universe what it is you really want. Because what he used to say is, how the heck on earth are you supposed to get something if you don't go for it? Right? You're just waiting for it to fall in your lap.
Yeah, well, I think also a lot of people are timid or scared to even say it out loud. I mean, I noticed that just in exercise, and even me and among my friends, to say, what is it that you really want? Can you say it out loud? And I've had people say it, but would literally put their hand over their mouth when they're talking. It's so scary to say out loud the thing that you really want.
Yeah, and I think there's a part of you that probably, I know it's true for me, that feels like in some way you don't deserve it. But there's no deserve or not deserve, right? It's just, this is what I'm working towards. It's what I'm putting out. It's what I'm going for. And, the thing that my father was a big believer in also was about positivity versus negativity, that you really need to just keep your mind on the things you want. And this is what you were talking about when you said there doesn't seem to be any bitterness in there. It's because if you put your mind into the bitterness, then that's where you're living, right? He would say, don't allow negative thoughts to enter your mind. They are the weeds that strangle the beautiful flowers of confidence.
And a lot of us are consumed by negative thoughts, and they kind of pin us down, but he was in a daily practice of this flow and effort. It wasn't about one day it was all just going to disappear. It's just that he had to work himself every day to get himself into this kind of mindset.
Right. Persistence. Just keep going. And the thing of it is that he would look at if something didn't work, if he was, kept banging up against a wall of some sort, he would use that as something to really look at.
Sex, drugs, whatever it is, but that we don't get this beneficial experience of this pain and frustration that gives us this gift, right?
For sure. You have to feel it in order to learn from it. My dad said, when I've listened to my mistakes, I have grown. You really have to commit to looking inside, no matter how painful it might be, because you may have to really come face to face with some failure of your own. And by the way, I think that my father was so able to be in a positive place with this, because we all have to take the pressure off ourselves a little bit, because of course you don't know how to do something until you've done it. So if you're forging a new path for yourself, you need to let go of this idea that you need to already know how to do it. You learn how to do it through the doing. And through the doing, you do a lot of things wrong.
Well, I want to say that however your dad got to his kind of positive lens, that it has come down through you, through the bloodline. I mean, it's no surprise that a lot of celebrities end up being a hot mess, because it's a lot of pressure to be the child of somebody who is so revered and such a larger-than-life character. And especially because, early on in your career, you were in action films and you were kind of following in his footsteps. And tell me what it felt like to be the daughter of Bruce Lee on a film set and have a director ask you to do stuff and discover stuff about yourself.
Yeah, no, I remember the first time I was doing a major action film. I was trying to do this action sequence, and I've studied martial arts for many years, but I haven't made it my life like my father did, and even if I had, I'm still not him, right?
Because no one is.
No one is. And, I remember the director saying to me, just do it like your father would do it. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, that's not possible.
Yeah. What do I do?
What do I do? And, you know, what I did was just suck it up, do my very best, and then, like, leave the set and cry in the privacy of my own, you know, room. But, you know, there have definitely been times when there have been many assumptions made about me, many things that people feel